Hey folks, welcome to Planning Traffic. Today I'm in Walmart and I'm going to show you something that's tempting me to buy it. Ready? This. It's gotten to this. Who would have thought when the Halloween franchise and the Friday the 13th franchise started that we would be looking at this down the road? And guess what? I am really close to buying one. I'm going to be good though. But I'm not going to lie, I'm interested. Folks, welcome to Planning Traffic. Today's episode's a little, it's definitely a different, it's actually not different now I think about it, because here's an old empty lot, and I usually find myself around old empty lots. This one in particular here is the former location of Forest Cove Apartments in southeast Atlanta. And guess what he's not going to do today? He's not going to do this. Watch. Going in here. Want to know why I'm not going in here? Because I was recently arrested. And for criminal trespass. Yeah. Breaking news on Mikey Heal's channel. He was arrested for criminal trespass. Anyway, if you see, I'll address that later in another episode, but you see all this wrought iron, it kind of ends here, and then they put these pieces, these pylons in here. Actually, that's not even concrete itself. That's actually PVC with concrete in it. Okay? You didn't really need to know that. So this all wraps around, and I'm going to say, not from experience, because as you already know, I just a year ago I moved to the area, and what ended up happening, stumbled upon, so I was on the belt line, west side belt line, and I stumbled upon an abandoned housing project, and I went and then incorrectly identified it as the Forest Cove Apartments. Well, this is the actual Forest Cove Apartments. There's nothing left of it. Because basically, if you do an internet, like a Google search, it will come up as there's definitely news video of it being leveled back in, I think it started October 2024. This looks kind of like grown in, like I feel like they were leveling it prior to that. But it definitely, the specifics on it is that a judge had condemned this area right here a long time ago for basically deplorable living conditions, disgusting living conditions, and the crime was really, really, really bad. So the judge was like, yeah, that's enough. Relocate whoever's left in here. And I don't even see any kind of property whatsoever anywhere. And they were going to level and bring down the homes that were there. Yeah, so originally this property was the federal government donated 100 acres. It was originally prison land, so there is a prison not too far from here. So it was 100 acres that was donated by the government, and the original developer was called National Homes, and that was in the early 70s. So they put homes up. I got some notes written about it. It was called Seasons 4. The people that actually lived here called it Four Seasons. And Villamonte Homes was also a name used for it, or was at one point Villamonte Homes. But So that, just say that was 1971 when it was built. I don't know when the first tenant came in, but they said by 1976, just inside 3 years, the homes were already falling apart. Falling apart because HUD did not require national homes to have home inspections. So they literally were put together with it was just garbage construction. And so, you're already looking at them falling apart. The place that I saw was, I think, Azalea Apartments. That's in like the west-northwest section of Atlanta, off the Beltline. And I believe they were basically, I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same builder, because the homes look very similar. I've seen pictures of these homes, and they look just like those apartments there. I don't know, and that place looks like it's condemned as well. Complexes similar to this one were destroyed, were leveled literally 4 years into their existence. Like, that's how bad the HUD was in maintain. It was just a lot of criminal activity with HUD, and anyone who was getting a contract to build, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it was just bad, and it never ended. And for a lot of people, a place like Seasons 4 back in the early 70s was a getaway from blight from a previous residence that was really bad. So when they came to Seasons 4, we're brand spanking new homes. There was a brand new, level of hope, because the homes were so nice. And then rinse and repeat. The homes did not last. And the deterioration was terrible. And the living experience was terrible. I know that having neighbors that rent 98% of the time was a great experience for me. It actually was really good. For me, they were my friends. They were people that I would be out front bullshitting with, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. One thing I learned was, in conversations with people that didn't have renters because there was flight out of those neighborhoods when they realized, these houses are going to go to rent. Those people would say, yeah, because renters are disgusting and blah, 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 blah. And in reality, you know what I found out? The owner's disgusting. The landlord's disgusting. They literally do nothing. They're going to say why, and at the end of the day, it's because they're cheap and they want to make as much money as they can. As long as the house is standing, periodically put a roof on it, periodically swap a toilet out, maybe throw some paint somewhere. And this situation was no different. The company that owned this, National Homes at the time, they built crappy homes that deteriorated. Oh my God, the numbers are absolutely ridiculous. How do you demolish a project in 4 years? How do you build it and demolish it? And guess who paid for that? Yeah, that's taxpayer money that did that. And this is rinse and repeat. So that was in the 70s, right? So you talk about 4 decades later, they were still talking about Forest Cove Apartments. It was bought and sold twice in that time. And those owners who owned it, the last one I think being Millennia, received $21 million more in tax-exempt financing for repairs. So every time it changed hands, that new owner got all kinds of tax benefits from it. But then continued on with the disgusting behavior. Millennia, literally, the owners, I think his name's Frank Sanito, October 2024, federal agents had a search warrant of his 14,000 square foot mansion in Cleveland. I never saw a follow-up to that, like what they were looking for. But Millennia is not allowed to do business in Atlanta, I think, for I don't know how many years, because of how this ended at Forest Cove. But I'm going to say the following, is that COVID, there was a reason for COVID. There's a reason. It's man. It was, in my opinion, I think there's some facts to back this up. It was man-made, right? Now, why would that happen? Well, there's a way of transitioning wealth to the rich to people that are doing well, say middle-class people doing well. And what ended up happening was the dynamic, and people are starting to learn this right now, is that whole year, so many people were out of work, right? They were getting government help. Okay. Real estate prices went through the roof. Why did real estate prices went through the roof? Here's why they went through the roof. Because the rich people who had insider trading, the knowledge that this was coming, and they have documented that as well, never followed up on it with anybody, because for obvious reasons, because they're rich. All that money that they made cashing out their stock and killing the frickin' stock market went directly into corporate real estate. Directly into corporate real estate. And what did that do? Corporate real estate is now the new determinant factor of the price of property. And the price of property has gone up to a degree that, historically speaking, has never been seen before. So you had properties that probably went up 2 to 3 times their value during that time. And what was happening? Anything that was for sale was bought by corporate real estate with the intention of it being rented. And now you have a brand new level of minimum price of what you are going to pay if you're renting a home. Say, for instance, in Philadelphia, you're not getting in a home itself. You're not going to probably get in anywhere under $1,600 a month, and that's ground level. That's going to be a neighborhood that you're going to see people dying. You're going to see some murder. Well, hopefully you don't see it, but you're going to know it happened. And it's just, it is what it is. And this is the new reality. There's actually a development down here outside Atlanta. I think it's about 300 units. There's not a single property, and the property value in that development is starting at around $400,000. There's not a single property in there that's up for sale. Every one of them is for rent. Who has that kind of money to build that? Corporate real estate does. And that's who made out really, really, really well during COVID, because the market crashed. They sold all their stock. They transitioned that chunk of money into real estate. Like I remember the whole year during COVID. Why is property going through the roof? No one's working. You can't go buy a property with the money that you're getting from the government. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. The housing crisis shut anything. You're not going to be putting money down from that and proving that, oh yeah, here's my income, and that's not income. That's not what that was a moment in time during a pandemic. Yeah, the properties just went through the roof. The whole time. Everyone was out of work. Wasn't anyone else scratching their head, how's this happening? How is property going through the roof? So there you have it. And we already know. The CEO of one of the corporate real estate companies, that CEO got shot and killed in New York. In that story about that guy went into that office building thinking he wanted to go to the floor with the NFL had headquarters on. Okay. But actually chose another floor and killed a CEO from a corporate real estate. Coincidence. Yeah. Here we have it. There's an entrance right here. And there it is. There's the old sign, Forest Cove Apartments, affordable housing community. Yo, by 1983, this was up for sale. Remember, it was probably built in 1971. It was up for sale and needed $4 million in repairs, and it wasn't even a decade old. And then you can see right next door is the prison. And the prison, this was the land that was donated. And then of course, the developer took advantage. Okay, and it's just a never-ending, and this is happening all over the country. The final developer was Millennia. They own, I don't know how many of these projects that they owned, housing projects that they owned, and they were disgusting. But they all have the same. That's why there was a search warrant on the guy's home, guy's mansion, his 14,000 square foot mansion. But, and it just, and I also see one out on the west side Beltline. I saw one on that. I saw a project there that was boarded up, and I actually thought that was the one that was Forest Cove. It's not. This is Forest Cove. That one I think is called Azalea something, and it looks like it's going in the same direction. Whether it's already been condemned, I'm not sure. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this episode. There's no limit. There's no limit. People can't afford to buy homes. The property values went so high. These mortgages are so high. The interest rates are so high. It's almost like the whole thing was planned. Just planned. It really was just to eliminate, to put people forever, and I'm talking about middle class people. I remember when I got my postal job. That first year, I could afford a home. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. Don't get it twisted. It wasn't easy. But that money I was making, and you know what? The rates were real high. This was 91. Rates were high. They're higher than they are now. They were like 8%. And I had trouble, but you could do it, man. You're gonna have to get yourself some peanut butter and some ramen, but you could do it. Now, no, not even close. Not even close. That same house that was, and you're not making that much more money. The home prices have exceeded any cost of living adjustment, any living wage job had. It's not even close. It's not even close. So, all right, folks. I promise the next one will be smiles and laughter, and because this is a little much. Have a great day, pleasant tomorrow, and I'll see you next episode.